Tom Daglis is a USPTA Master Professional and past National and Southern Division President. He's directed two of the largest professional tennis management university programs in the country, served as Director of Tennis at elite country clubs, and has been recognized with numerous awards, including USPTA National Pro of the Year. Currently, he's the president of the tennis management and consulting company Pelican Tennis Group based in Gulfport, Mississippi. Welcome, Tom.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being on.
Tom, and thank you for joining us. Through the years, you've developed a revenue niche with running club and special events. What prompted you to explore this area?
Well, through my career, I've played in a lot of mixers and round robins, and many of them were very chaotic or unorganized, and I felt like the customer experience could be improved quite a bit. So I sort of studied a lot of successful people that I know and tried to get as much information on that, and always try to make sure that any kind of mixer or event, people leave with a real positive feeling. So my goal was to improve from other people's mistakes.
What did you first note? Like, I assume as a young pro, you began noticing some shortcomings, let's say, with events. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I think everybody can probably agree that there are problems when people don't show up and the formats you use, and some people want more competitive tennis, some want more social tennis, some want to make sure they get enough tennis time on the court, some want to be by the food. So I think you see what's successful, and one of the things that I've done is send out surveys to people to see what they like, and then try to mold certain mixers based on the survey results.
Okay, so you look for the feedback from the participants.
Yeah, but I think the common theme is, people want to have fun. They we're working with happy people, and at the same time, I like the fact that I can demonstrate a lot of professional skills for a mixer, because I think a professionally run event is very, very different than having people just show up and splitting them up and every, play 4 games and split courts or go up and down the court. I think having a well-structured event helps you at the club as one of the professionals.
Yeah, obviously, or I guess it would reflect very well on you, and people would want to come back. I'm playing this out. I'm thinking, okay, so if I were a young pro again, and I've gone to some pro-ams and mixers, and I see some shortcomings, maybe I'm newer in the industry, so as a first step, maybe the first thing is to not make some of the mistakes I see at some of the other events. I'm not sure I would immediately want to start to be creative. Is that maybe a first step, to just not kind of make unforced errors, so to speak?
I would agree with that, but I think some of the unforced errors are the same for everybody, and it's how you handle them. So, for example, you're always going to have people that don't show up or call in the last second and say, I can't make it, and how do you handle that? If it's a closed mixer by the numbers, how do you handle that? So I've always had reserved people in line that I can call at the last second. A lot of times it's the staff. A lot of times it might be some, I don't like to put juniors in the adult mixers, but I might have 1 or 2 that I know can handle it, and give them a T-shirt for hanging around so they can be a pacer or a substitute until someone gets there. And I think having those people in reserves really helps. And one thing that I would recommend is go talk to some of your local peers at some of their clubs and offer to be a reserve for them, and let them be a reserve for you. So, find out when they're doing some of their mixers. If you're not doing anything that night, say, hey, look, if you need anybody at the last second, I'll jump over there and fill in. And in this way, you look good. You don't look like you're trying to punt all the time.
Okay, so it sounds like you maybe work with some of the other clubs in the area.
Yeah, I think having a reciprocate availability with the local pros really, really helps. Plus, it's a good look for you, too.
How do you prepare your staff members for events?
Well, obviously there's even the staff pros, some are more competitive than others. So I try to group them into areas where um, personality is a factor, their playing ability might be a factor. And if someone is too competitive, then I have to sit down and say, look, this is customer tennis. You're not permitted to hit any winners or end any points. You have to keep the point going. So I think you have to talk to them a little bit about how you intend the mixer to run. And sometimes you divide the mixers into a competitive group and a social group, and those that are the players, you let them run a little bit with the competitive group.
Okay. So it sounds like, yeah, you prepare your folks up front and you're really structured with what you do.
Yeah, and I think having food and prizes, and that's all part of the deal. And there's so many different types of themed events you can do. Some of the things that I've done, I think, have been successful. Is when you set up your registration fees, they need to be pretty reasonable, I think, and they need to have some other value associated with them. At the same time, you get to market all your other events. If you get a large group to come out for your mixer, what a great time to market everything else you're doing at the club. I think there should be discounts for early registration deadlines. And whether you register as a couple or a single, I think there should be a discount for that. And as long as you have plenty of courts, your profitability can be huge. It depends on how many courts you have available. But communicating and with your registrants on a regular basis, allowing for online registration. I think having your theme events and having them on the same weekend every year is a very big point, because people that if someone likes your event, then they will plan their vacations around their family life to make sure that they can play in that event again next year. So having consistency on the times you do the event. And all the themes, I think many of you probably have done all these themes, but I'll give you a few that have been successful. I do a tax relief tennis mixer on the first weekend after April 15th. Of course, Halloween mixers. I do sweetheart mixers around Valentine's Day. In March, we do a St. Patty's Day or a March Madness mixer. I do a firecracker round robin. That's usually a parent-child one during July 4th time. Member guests, Century Plus Tennis Classics is another one that I do, where you have to be at least 100 years when you register as a team, and it's not gender-based. One year I had a 30-year-old guy playing with a 70-year-old woman, and they won the event. That's always been a pretty cool event. Ringer tournaments, where you can just go out and get anybody you want from any place that that's a great player and sign up as a ringer tournament. Pilgrim mixers during Thanksgiving. I used to have a snowman tennis mixer during the holidays, and had one club that made me change it to a snow person mixer. But it was having these events with themes is good, because then you can decorate accordingly, and it adds fun to the event. So Halloween mixers, sometimes I would say, okay, if you come dressed, you get 50% off your registration fee, and of course the staff had to play in costume. So I think those things help the marketing of the events, and people have a good time around it.
Now, I would imagine, okay, so again, I'm sort of the young pro, and I've gone to some events. I see things that have gone well and things that haven't. I'm adjusting my events accordingly. It seems like at some point I would begin to maybe add more events, and perhaps even more than some of the other facilities in the area. I mean, at some point, did you notice that you maybe were so successful at this that you were offering more events throughout the year than maybe some others were?
Well, for several things. One, if you're tied to your pro shop, I mean, you can make money, or your prizes can be based on gift certificates, so you're helping your other side of the business. But I think every pro has expertise in certain areas. Some of us are known as cardio tennis people, or some of them are known as the best private lesson giver. Um, I think to get a reputation as an event person, where they know that they're going to come in, people are going to come in, and it's going to be organized and it's going to be fair to everyone. I think that goes a long way, and I think that if you build on your reputation with that, people have this anticipation or the expectation that an event's going to be run a certain way, and they tell their friends, and it makes a difference.
What do you like most about running events?
I have to say is people have fun, and some of them are very competitive, and you learn to divide people up based on their personalities, so that they're getting what they want out of it. But I love the fact that at the end of the night, people, even the people that don't win, they're having a good time. They're meeting people. There's always food involved. Many times there's drink involved, and it's just a good night out. And when you price these, I mean, it's less expensive than a couple going to the movie theater. So it's economically feasible to do a lot of these events, so that you're not prohibiting people to come in because of cost.
Yeah, it sounds like, Tom, from what you've described, I mean, the way to look at it from a business model standpoint is not strictly in terms of the price that you're charging, the amount of money you're bringing in for the event itself, but it's actually the income that you can get from having the people there, and then they're in the pro shop, or that they're signing up for lessons and that kind of thing. There are other ways that you can make money off of having these events than just the revenue directly derived from the events themselves. Is that accurate?
Yes, I would say that's true. And then again, everybody runs their events a little bit different. I'll give you a few points that I do that have worked for me. Number one, all my rounds are always going to be 4 games of no ad scoring, and a 9-point tiebreaker is the 5th game. So every round is 5 games. And it's important for, what happens when you do a mixer, you have people sometimes getting off the court earlier than others. So I felt that using the no ad and the tiebreaker, it pretty much kept everybody within a couple minutes on the court at the same time. Because the last thing you want is to have people hanging out, waiting for one team to finish, and then it kind of upsets the continuity of the mixer. I would also say that I've done one mixer called a poker mixer, where after every round, people would pick a card, and the person with the best hand would win at the end of the night. So anybody could win, even if you don't win a round, you get a card for just playing around. And then if you win the tiebreaker, you get another card, and you end up starting with like 5 decks of cards, and you might have someone with 5 aces at the end of the night that wins the competition, and it's a lot of fun. So that's good for those people that don't sign up, because they know that one person is excellent and they're going to probably win it. So you have to kind of make sure that there's a handicap system involved. So I've done it that way. I've used 10 cap. I don't know if some of you are available know about 10 cap, but it's a handicap system, and that correlates with NTRP ratings, and that has always been very good for me to use. In fact, I've gone through whole nights of 3-hour mixers, and nobody came off the court with a 5-0 win in a round, which is, I think, great. So people feel like they're it doesn't hurt their feelings so much. So 10 cap has been a pretty good system, and you can probably look that up online, and you do have to do a lot of work ahead of time for that, but it seems to pay off. What else? I would say that making sure that, let's see, what else? I'm going to look at a note here. Again, those theme ones. Another one that's been very successful for me was so when the kids go back in school, I always have a hooray, the kids are back in school margarita mixer, and that has always been one of my biggest signups. I think making sure that when you do a no ad round at 3 points, you're serving gender to gender. And not always. It's always mixed. Sometimes I have a weaker same gender playing together with a better player if I don't have enough mixed people to play. Um, a warm up I think is important. I always have everybody warm up, get there 10 minutes early, and everybody warms up before the event starts, because one thing I don't want to do is each round have people warm up for each round, because it breaks up the continuity again. So I have everybody warm up before we start playing round one, and then there's no more warm up, and that seems to work for me.
Okay. Well, Tom, I think that, yeah, these are all terrific ideas, especially the back-in-school margarita mixer. I imagine this fall, we hope that could be a very successful event for a lot of pros. Do you have contact info that you'd like to share, or anything else?
Sure. If you want to email me at tdaglis@pelicantennisgroup.com, I'm happy to answer any questions or send you any notes that you like. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So just shoot me an email, and I'll respond within a day or two.
Fantastic. All right, Tom. Thanks.
You're very welcome.